Empowering, liberating, and shockingly honest. It's the Weston Martinez Podcast on 930amtheanswer.com. Now here's Weston Martinez.
All right, thanks for tuning in today. Thanks for joining us on the Weston Martinez program. I'm Weston Martinez. There's so much we're going to talk about today. It's really awesome, and we're glad to be joined glad to be joined today by Chris and Kelly, getting this thing done for y'all and working the switches and pushing everything the way it needs to go. It's going to be really a good time. Today, we want to take a serious look at what's happening with our president and our Secretary of State really destabilizing the Middle East. There has been such a destabilization with what's taken place with the model in Syria. We know there were hearings that have taken place. We're going to talk about some of those here in just a minute, but let's start off with the facts. We have a president that has been weak on the Middle East in several different ways. We have a Secretary of State that has come out and has said things like, warning shots across the bow of Israel to Iran if Israel mobilized to defend itself. Ladies and gentlemen, these are unprecedented times. We have not had a situation in our country's history where the relationship of supporting Israel has been, and our relationship with Israel has been so fragile. And that, as a result, has decreased our position in the region. So much so that now, as we look at Syria, people don't realize that Syria is the hub in the middle of the wheel. It's the spoke in the middle of the wheel, and it's very, very, very important that we realize that if you're controlling Israel, you're a player. Now, this last week, we started doing some work in Syria, but it was all political solutions. Let's talk about sanctions. Let's talk about pulling back funding. Let's not talk about boots on the ground. But when we did start actually making some movement, guess what took place? Russia told us, get out of Syria. Ladies and gentlemen, I sit back and I look at that and I think to myself, has the United States of America's political clout been relegated to somewhere behind a fourth world developing country that has no power base, no economic base, no people base? And I would tell you that based on the way that our president is executing the oath that he swore to uphold, that answer, unfortunately and regrettably and detestably, is yes. And what are we going to do about it? That's the best thing we can talk about, because the rest of it is really horrible, and there really are massive implications, not only with our safety, but also with our security and also with our economy. We have to realize that if you control Syria, you now are going to be treated as an equal with the Saudis. The Saudis are going to look at the person that's controlling Syria, and they're going to have to work with them in some of their solutions, especially when it's Russia. Russia has everything to gain and nothing to lose in this situation. One of the reasons why most people don't realize one of Russia's main economic drivers is the oil that they have in the region. They have massive deposits of oil in the colder parts of Russia. I know it's hard to imagine colder parts of Russia, but in Siberia and in different things like that, you got massive oil deposits. Well, guess how that oil gets out? It gets out by rail car. Guess who the richest people in Russia are? The government officials that are involved with the rail system. So it's very interesting as we see the dynamics of the world economy be moved out into our purview. We happen to notice that America is not at the table. America is not being represented with the full faith and credit of the United States of America, as the bank loves to say that it secures our dollar bills with. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't get involved and if you don't start participating in the voting process, participating in town hall events, talking to your neighbors, you really need to get out there and begin to re-engage the dialogue so that you can actually make a difference in somebody's mind, in somebody's opinion. We have to be a country that communicates with one another, because if we don't, ladies and gentlemen, we will find ourselves working for somebody else for the rest of our lives. We already owe billions of dollars to China in debt. We're already at a position that we might have a hard time making the payments on the interest owed on the debt. If it gets to that point, when Greece had its financial debacle, it sent ripples around the world. If America has a financial debacle like Greece did, it will be a financial tsunami that is worldwide, that no one can hide from, and it'll be massive. It'll have massive implications for years and years to come. So we want people to be involved. You have to know that there are a lot of things that are going on, not only in Syria, but go and look at John Kerry's travel record. Look at his itinerary of the meetings that he's going to be attending here in the near future. Contact his office. He is still a public official. He does still have a public number, and he does still have a public email address. Call him and let him know your displeasure that you have in this situation, and let them know that we want a strong America. And a strong America is going to be kind. We're going to be gentle, but we are going to be firm. We are not going to let the thugs of the world push us around and treat us like a schoolyard bully. We are going to stand up, and we are going to fight, not only for our current future, but for the future of our children and their children's children, because there is no one else that is going to fight for your family greater than you will. So be encouraged. Know that you can be part of the solution. And thank you for tuning in this week to our program. We're going to talk about some other very interesting things coming up. Check out some of our other podcasts that are online and some of our other videos that are online. And please share this out on Facebook and Twitter. And we encourage you to just continue to rise up so that you can help save America. Thank you, and God bless.
Share the Weston Martinez podcast on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you for listening to the Weston Martinez podcast on 930amtheanswer.com. You now have Weston's permission to download another chapter.